pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening, everyone. Let the record show that all members of the City Council are present this evening. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the meeting room on the west wall and is accessible to members of the public at any time during the course of this meeting. First item on the agenda is a proclamation declaring April 26th as Arbor Day. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I stand Worth, Mayor of the City of Beatrice, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2019 as Arbor Day in the City of Beatrice, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And furthermore, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and to promote the well-being of this and future generations. Witness my hand and official seal of the City of Beatrice, Nebraska, this 15th day of April 2019. And we will get this to our Public Properties Department and be put in a frame so that they can proudly display it. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. First item is item A, approve agenda as submitted. Item B, receive and place on file all notices pertaining to this meeting. Item C, receive and place on file all materials having any bearing on this meeting. Item D, approval of minutes of regular meeting on April 1st, 2019 as on file in the city clerk's office. Item E, approval of treasurer's report of claims. E1, approval of gauge area growth N-gauge claim in the amount of $34,407.44. Item E2, approval of balance of treasurer's report of claims in the amount of $379,221.84. Item F, approval of Boswell report of claims in the amount of $76,744.87. Item G, approval of write-off of ambulance bad debts. Item H, award of bid for the Mill and Overlay Paving Projects 2019 to Pavers, Inc. in the amount of $414,943.85 as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item I, approval of special designated license for Hasnoff Enterprises doing business as Sidetrack Bar and Grill for a wedding reception to be held on June 8th, 2019 from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the Red Barn Farm Events venue located at 1038 West Sargent Street, Beatrice, Nebraska. Item J, approval of public funding request from the Beatrice Area Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $5,000 for Homestead Days 2019 event. Item K, approval of public funding request for the Beatrice Noon Kiwanis Club in the amount of $1,870.78 for the annual Mudecas basketball tournament event. Item L, approval of public funding request from the Beatrice on the Move Coalition in the amount of $2,611.25 for city trail improvement projects. Item M, approval of Beatrice Plus funding request from Leadership Beatrice 2018-2019 class in the amount of $1,500 for the Beatrice Story Walk at Riverside Park project. Item N, approval of Beatrice Plus funding request from Beatrice on the Move Coalition in the amount of $5,222.50 for the City Trail Improvements Project. Item O, resolution number 6388, executing amendment number 3 to the agreement between the city and the Division of Public Health and the Department of Human Health and Services for the construction of new distribution mains and replacement of existing distribution water mains as recommended by the Board of Public Works. Item P, resolution number 6389, executing the OAP correction to amendment number 2, the OAP amendment number 3, and the HDHP amendment number 3 to the City of Beatrice Board of Public Works employee health plans. Item Q, resolution number 6390, reappointing Cheryl Worth to the Beatrice Housing Authority Agency Board. Item R, resolution number 6391, reappointing Christine Hulls, Dr. Robert McClellan, and Valentina Tina Wright to the City of Beatrice Library Board. Is there any item that any member from the council wants removed from the consent agenda?
Item I.
Ted?
Aye.
Item I. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience? Mr. Claybaugh?
Mayor, I move that the items listed under consent agenda, with the exception of item I, be approved, accepted, and/or ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Morgan, that all items listed on the consent agenda be approved. Your vote, please. That is approved, 8-0.
Mayor, I move that item I, approval of special designated license for Hasnoff Enterprises doing business as Sidetrack Bar and Grill for a wedding reception to be held June 8, 2019 from 3 to 1 a.m. at the Red Barn Farms event venue, 1038 West Sergeant Road, Beatrice, Nebraska, be approved, accepted, and/or ratified as presented.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Bilsbach, that we further discuss the Hasnoff Enterprise request. Mr. Fairbanks?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm a little curious. The 1038 West Sergeant Road's not in the city limits. I'm curious why we're giving them why we're addressing this.
I assume it has to do with the fact they're within a 2-mile zoning jurisdiction.
They have events there all the time. They don't have liquor licenses. I don't have a problem with it. You can go ahead and do it. I just didn't know why we had to do it. They're not within the city limits.
I believe the commission told them to get our approval.
The liquor commission told them to come to us this time, so,
Okay.
yeah, well, wish we had a better answer for you, but
Okay. Well, never mind. I guess next time they bring it up, you can find out why.
Well,
Or
we could check.
or somebody's gonna find out why we had to do it, and you're gonna let me know?
yeah.
I think a lot of times at some of their events, they don't sell any alcohol.
I can't imagine they're selling alcohol at a wedding reception.
Well, I think they may be.
Oh, well. Anyway, somebody will find out and let me know, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone else have a question regarding item I? Anyone from the audience? Your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Next is a public hearing to receive the semi-annual report of the Citizens Advisory Review Committee as provided by the Local Option Municipal Economic Development Act, RRS 1943.
Well, Mr. Jones, your chairman, is not available tonight. He had some parenting duties to take care of, and so I'll give you the report. If you looked, I think it's in your packet, but the LB 840 Economic Development Fund, as of March 31st, 2019, had approximately $529,000 in cash available in that fund. All the loans that had been made through that process are current, and so things are moving well there on the LB 840 side. On the CBG side of things, again, March 31st, 2019, approximately $304,000 available in cash there. The loans that you have outstanding through that fund are also current at this time, so things are going well. The only other thing to note is the Department of Economic Development recently audited our CBG revolving loan fund, and we got a satisfactory audit that came out of that process. So other than that, not much to report at this time.
Questions? Anyone? From the audience, Mr. Claybaugh?
Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed at 7:10.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that the public hearing be closed at 7:10. Your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Next is a public hearing on the new application of Locked Groove LLC, doing business as Risky's Sports Bar and Grill Beatrice, 2317 North 6th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska, for a new Class C liquor license. And with us is Rob Merrow and Jerry Lampkin. Gentlemen, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
The liquor application provided by the establishment owners and managers, Brian and Megan Lawrence, was a background investigation was done in reference to this, and the investigations unit located nothing regarding either applicant which would prohibit them from the issuance of license.
Rob Merrill, Chief Building Inspector and Planning and Zoning Administrator. Did a planning report for this liquor license. Basically, it's a general commercial zone. On the west side, there's an R4 zone, which is the mobile home trailer park there behind the building. This liquor license is basically for change of ownership, and nothing's new here. It's been a liquor establishment for several years, and we've, to my knowledge, had no problems with the planning and zoning side.
Okay, very good. Any questions, gentlemen, from the audience? All right, thank you very much. Mr. Claybaugh?
Mayor, I move the public hearing be closed at 7:12 PM.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that the public hearing be closed at 7:12 PM. Your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Mr. Claybaugh?
Mayor, I move that the new application of Lock Groove LLC, doing business as Risky Sports Bar and Grill, 2317 North 6th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska, for a new Class C liquor license be recommended to the Liquor Control Commission for approval.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that the application of Locked Groove LLC, doing business as Risky Sports Bar and Grill, be approved. Further discussion on this application from the audience? And your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Next is a public hearing on the acquisition of real property from Robert L. and Deborah L. Hausman, commonly referred to as 312 South 6th Street, H2 Rentals LLC, commonly referred to as 321 South 7th Street, MRW Rentals LLC, commonly referred to as 323 South 7th Street, Mark W. Clausen Living Trust UA, dated August 13th, 2008, commonly referred to as 606 Scott Street, all in Beatrice, Gage County, Nebraska, and Gerald Cleveland Real Estate on the south side of Bell Street between 6th Street and 7th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska, Gage County, Nebraska, parcel IDs 010-119-000, 010-18000, 010-117-000, 0101-1600, 0101-1500, 0101-14000, and 0101-13000.
So anytime we acquire real estate, we're required to have a public hearing. So this is what this public hearing is. This is the real estate that is between Scott Street and Bell Street, between 6th and 7th Street. So all of the different parcels we've listed there are located in that block. And so what you have before you is the proposal for location, possibly of a new fire station. Our options is what we're presenting to the city council tonight, so it's by no means a done deal. We have several more steps to walk through, and as each one of the resolutions come up, we'll talk about individual properties at that time to kind of give you some details about individual contracts and how those are working. But that's the piece of property you're looking at right now. Timeline. So that's a good question. If everything runs smoothly, the first step is obviously to approve the options tonight. Assuming that's done, step 2 is to do some environmental testing. That is between 3 and 4 months long. At the end of that, then you're looking at, we give 90 days to close. So if you're looking at a timeline, it's probably October, November timeframe is my rough guess at this point. Hopefully sooner than that, but
Okay, and so just so everybody in the community, we understand, obviously, we've talked about this several times, but just so everybody in the community understands, when we have an option, we're paying all these property owners a little bit upfront money. We can tell them what that is, and then the final negotiating price, that'll be determined when we actually make the sale, and that will be in the 3 to 4 month period.
no, all the final prices for the real estate are already agreed to. They're already in the contracts.
Okay.
So yes, you'll pay some money today for the option, basically to hold the property
Right.
while we do our due diligence. While we go through that, some of the property owners get a second payment to do some environmental testing on their property. Both the option, or the initial payment, and the payment that's made for environmental testing, both get applied to the final purchase price. So they're not additional funds, they're simply advancements of funds, ultimately for the final purchase price.
Everybody get that? Okay. We understood it. I want to make sure everybody else understood it.
We'll try to go through a little more detail
know,
as we go to
I
individual
know.
ones and hopefully answer a few questions there too, so.
Any other questions from the council? The general public? All right, Mr. Claybaugh?
Mayor, I move the public hearing be closed at 7:17 PM.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Morgan, that the public hearing be closed at 7:17 PM. Your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Next is item number 4, resolution number 6392, declaring that the City of Beatrice Building Inspections Department shall now be known as the City of Beatrice Community Development Department.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6392 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by McLean, that resolution number 6392 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
So this was something we talked about here a couple months ago when Rob made his presentation initially, was renaming the department to Community Development Project, or Community Development Department. And Rob had a number of reasons for that, and I'm sure you can highlight those again. But in addition, Rob's got some other things, reasons why he's looking to change the name, and so I'll turn it over to Rob.
Thanks. Rob Merrill, Chief Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Supervisor, and Planning and Zoning Administrator. So I think it sums up why we want to maybe change it to a Community Development Center, or Department, to, for one, like we mentioned back in January, to have a more positive connotation in general for the things that we do. With that, we are looking at kind of rolling out what we're kind of calling the Community Pride Initiative, if you will. Not saying that we don't have community pride here, but maybe trying to promote and enhance our overall community pride in general. Maybe Councilman Fairbanks is a little bit to blame for this, as he always asks that question, how do you legislate community pride? And that's a great question, but maybe one thing we can do is better promote it in general and try to get 100% participation instead of 50%. With that, some of the ideas that we're bringing forward with this initiative is just more positive and promotional things. The acknowledgement, what we call community pride acknowledgement for property maintenance. Very simply, just weekly recognitions and awards for property maintenance. Maybe we have a lot of people that do it regularly every day. We have some people that don't, that we have to write those letters to and get them to mow their yards. But we've had also a lot of people that have come a long ways, and we're not writing them letters anymore, so we want to kind of continue to encourage that. We're looking at trying to promote residential building opportunities, specifically on properties that the city has acquired over the years. I foresee us acquiring more properties as we go forward, just based on the work we do. We kind of scale back a little bit because we really don't want Mark to mow any more acres than he actually has to, because he's mowing something like 250 or 270 or something along those lines. Part of that program is a Community Pride Mow to Own program. Maybe we're going to offer someone that's an adjacent property owner or a developer that would like to acquire city property at a very, very low cost in exchange for doing maintenance for an extended period of time, where they'd build up credits of sort and use those credits to ultimately own the property and develop on it. It obviously frees up Mark and his crew with the public properties from mowing and maintaining those, but also puts that back into the citizens' hands where they can redevelop properties and and rather than us having empty lots. A few other things, maybe a community pride exterior maintenance assistance. There is other groups that do some things that have some restrictions on what it takes to get their funds and get them to do their work. Maybe ours would be a little bit more lenient. One thing I mentioned down here was Community Pride Sidewalk Improvement Program, which we've had in effect for the last few years. Maybe we look at reallocating some of those funds to an exterior maintenance program that would help some disabled and elderly that, are maybe on fixed incomes, $700, $900, $1,200 a month that doesn't stretch far enough. With that, we're looking at maybe a single point of contact, Community Pride volunteer group where Chet and I see a lot of things, and you guys do too, that throughout the city that we see projects that could really, if somebody would maybe just go do them or put a volunteer group in contact with that property owner, elderly, disabled, whatever the case may be, that we could put those two together a lot more easy and get some things accomplished that way. But nothing that we're really reinventing the wheel by any means, but maybe just kind of getting the wheel to roll a little bit and maybe a little bit faster. So, any questions?
Good idea.
Any questions, gentlemen?
It's a broad undertaking. Thank you. I think that's, some of those things that we've always talked about doing, so, yeah. Nice,
Yeah.
strong work, Rob.
It's going to take some work, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's going to be some time committed to it nonetheless, but we're at a point now in our office that, Chet's come a long way in his abilities and his knowledge to kind of do a lot of his own work that I don't necessarily have to help him with. And Laura has done an amazing job on the planning and zoning side as well to free up some of my time. And I figure that let's just keep rolling and try to get a little more positivity going and get more things happening. So.
Like the way you think. Any other questions? All right, gentlemen, your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6392 has been passed and adopted, and he's now Beatrice's Community Development Director. Right, Rob?
Doesn't get a raise, does he?
No,
He tried.
Of course not. Next is item B, resolution number 6393, executing all necessary documents to acquire real estate commonly referred to as 312 South 6th Street from Robert L. and Deborah I. Hausman.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6393 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that resolution number 6393 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
So this is the first property before you. For those who don't know the Hausmans, this would be Jan's Cleaners, just so everybody has kind of a reference point. This contract is essentially identical to that you'll see for Clausen and that you'll see for Cleveland's, in that it's written that there are several parts or options or procedures that need to be followed as you go through this. That's what happens when you put about 4 or 5 different attorneys in a room and have them negotiate a contract. We've got several parts in here. So part 1 is the option itself. That expires May 8th of 2019. So between now and then, the city has to say whether or not we want to move forward the option itself. And tonight, I think that's down on your list. Actually, right now, when you approve the resolution, you'd be doing the initial option. That's a $100 payment to them. Then if the city wants to do environmental testing on their ground, we have to give them notice, and we have to pay them additional $1,000. And then we move on to part 2 of the option contract. That's also later on your agenda tonight, is we're going to ask you to do that and give the notice so we can start the clock working on doing the environmental testing. Environmental testing will include a phase 1, maybe a phase 2 study, asbestos, make sure, find out what's asbestos in the building, that kind of stuff. Those will be done as part of part 2 of the contract. At the end of part 2, if the city decides they want to continue to move forward purchasing their property, we then will give them notice again. We'll move to part 3 of the contract, and that's where the purchase price has already been established. For the Hausmans, that purchase price is $200,000. Then the contract says that we will buy the property within 90 days of giving them notice. Hopefully both parties can move faster than that, but we understand that there's different circumstances with each property. It may not be able to move as quickly as all the other ones. So that's where you get the time frame. between starting today, environmental testing, the 90 days, you may be that October, November timeframe before you own parcels. And then you would spend the winter months demoing, getting the ground prepared with a construction date starting in spring of 2020.
Questions? Anyone from the audience? All right, gentlemen, your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6393 has been passed and approved. Next is resolution number 6394, executing all necessary documents to acquire real estate commonly referred to as 321 South 7th Street from HR Rentals LLC.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6394 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that resolution number 6394 be passed and adopted.
So the next two resolutions, or next two properties are the same. They're the rental houses that are on the northwest corner of 7th and Scott Street. There's two rental houses there. These two contracts are the same. They're a little simpler, but they basically just state that between now and July 31st, the city has the ability to exercise the option. Again, we're paying, I believe it's $100. I think H2 rentals might be $200 for the initial option. And then after we decide and give notice that we want to proceed with closing, we close within 90 days. So that's just the difference between the two of them. They're not quite as sophisticated as the other properties, but the result ends up being the same. The purchase price on H2 rentals is $88,000.
Questions? Comments from the public? And your vote, please, gentlemen. And that is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6394 has been passed and adopted. Next is item D, resolution number 6395, executing all necessary documents to acquire real estate commonly referred to as 323 South 7th Street from MRW Rentals LLC.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6395 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that resolution number 6395 be passed and adopted.
This contract's the same as the one you just considered. Again, same thing. We have to exercise the option by July 31st. Have to close within 90 days thereafter. So if you figure that gives you August, September, October, by Halloween, you should have acquired this property, assuming you decide to move forward with it. Same initial down payment, $100 or so. Purchase price on MRW Rentals is $42,000.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to close all these on the same date?
Probably not. I mean, just logistically, it probably just doesn't
I
happen that
just
way.
didn't know if all of a sudden we close on a few and then all of a sudden we get an environmental that says this is a really bad spot to be, and all of a sudden we bought property we really don't want.
Hopefully you'll have enough environmental studies done and information done before you decide that that's where you want to go with those
I
properties.
just thought of that. I said, geez, all of a sudden if we decide that's a really bad piece of property and we bought $100,000 worth of property we don't want, then what do we do with it?
That's why
We're back
that's why
in
we have
rental
several
business.
parts and options and as we kind of walk through this. So
Just making sure. All right.
Any other comments, questions from the audience? And your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6395 has been passed and approved. Next is item E, resolution number 6396, executing all necessary documents to acquire real estate commonly referred to as 606 Scott Street from Mark W. Clausen Living Trust UA, dated August 13th, 2008.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6396 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that resolution number 6396 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
contract with Mr. Clausen is the same as the one for the Hausmans and for the one that's coming up next, which is Cleveland's. Mr. Clausen owns the house that is just to the east of Jan's Cleaners. For those of you trying to follow along at home, that's where you're at there. It's got the same time frames in there. You give the initial notice, you give a second notice, you do the environmental testing, you do a third notice before the actual decision to move forward and close on the property. Purchase price for Mr. Clausen's building is $22,500.
Questions? Comments, gentlemen? From the audience? And your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6396 has been approved. Next is item F. Thanks. Next is item F, resolution number 6397, executing all necessary documents to acquire real estate on the south side of Bell Street between 6th Street and 7th Street, Beatrice, Gage County, Nebraska. And there are a variety of parcel IDs that I had read earlier, and the property is being purchased from Gerald Cleveland.
You don't want to read all those numbers again?
Not necessarily.
I move that resolution number 6397 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Catlin, that resolution number 6397 be passed and adopted. Mr. Templemeyer?
Once again, this parcel is located on the north side of the block, south side of Bell Street, from 6th to 7th. It's the entire half block there. It's Cleveland's old gas station for those who've been around for a few years and remember. Same contract as those, both for Hausman and for Clausen, so it's got all the multiple steps in it. Purchase price is $275,000. And for those of you doing math, sitting it down out there, that's a total of $627,500 for all the parcels together.
Saved the question there, didn't you?
Joe.
I knew that question was coming, so.
Does that
Joe?
include the house to the north of the alley there?
What's that?
Does that include the house to the north of the alley? Is there a house there?
There's not, that house has now been gone. Mr. Cleveland had that house demoed here just a couple months ago.
Okay, okay, very good, thanks.
Any other questions?
You have an old picture, Joe?
Anyone from the audience? Any questions from the audience? All right, your vote, please, gentlemen. And that is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6397 has been passed and adopted. Next is item G, resolution number 6398, executing the engagement for appraisal services between the City of Beatrice, Nebraska and Great Plains Appraisal Incorporated to provide appraisal services for 312 South 6th, 307 South 7th, and possibly 614 Scott Street, all in Beatrice, Nebraska.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6398 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, second by Kerr, that resolution number 6398 be passed and adopted. Tobias?
So there's a state law out there that says that the city's gonna buy property that's valued at more than $100,000, you have to have it appraised. It doesn't say you have to pay the appraisal price. It doesn't say you can pay more. It doesn't say you can pay less. It just says you have to have it appraised. And so before you, what we have is Abby went out, contacted a couple different appraisals firms, got some quotes on pricing, and Great Plains was the lowest bid to do the appraisals for us, and so that's the contract we brought before you.
And that price was
It's
$7,000?
$7,725.
It's a reasonable price for all those properties.
I was gonna ask how you got to it, so thank you,
Yeah.
Ben.
Any other questions, gentlemen, from the audience? And your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6398 has been passed and approved. Next is item H, resolution number 6399, executing the agreement for services between the City of Beatrice, Nebraska and Terracon Consultants Incorporated to conduct a Phase 1 environmental site assessment for the proposed fire station location.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6399 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that the resolution number 6399 be passed and adopted.
So in your contracts you just approved, there's some environmental testing that needs to be done. I went out and got quotes from a couple of different contractors to do this type of work. Terracon, who's done work for us before, I've had good results with them. They were the low bid at $2,800 to do the Phase 1. There will be additional money to do a Phase 2 if you decide to do one. I'm assuming you will, and they were the low bid on the Phase 2 part as well. But if we decide to do Phase 2, there'll be a separate contract that comes back for the scope of work for a Phase 2.
They bid phase 2 also, though.
I got both prices on Phase 1 and Phase 2, so we weren't just getting a cheap front end and a more expensive back end. We tried to find out what the total cost would
And
be.
those are the only two they're the only two we'll need for the property, to purchase the property.
Most likely. I mean, you can do more if you decide to, but those are pretty standard in the industry.
Yeah, yet again, I knew the answer I was asking for. Okay.
Not a problem.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience? All right, and your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6399 has been passed and adopted. Next is item I, resolution number 6400, to proceed to part 2 of the option and contingent contract for sale of real estate, which includes environmental testing for multiple parcels of real estate that lies between Bell Street and Scott Street and between 6th Street and 7th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6400 be passed and adopted.
Second.
By Claybaugh, seconded by Catlin, that resolution number 6400 be passed and adopted.
As we explained earlier, the contracts with Hausman, Clausen, and Cleveland all have different phases in them. In order to move out of phase 1 and into phase 2, it requires us giving them notice saying we want to do environmental testing on their property. And so that's what we're asking this body to do now, is give us permission so that we can give notice to those property owners, so we can start the phase 1 study, environmental reviews on their properties. With that comes a payment of additional, I think, $1,000 to those individuals per lot. So that's just kind of the next step in their contracts.
Questions from the council, from the audience? All right, your vote, please. It is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6400 has been passed and approved. Next is item J, resolution number 6401, to file a petition to condemn property in Gage County Court to initiate eminent domain proceedings to acquire real estate on the north side of Scott Street between 6th Street and 7th Street, Beatrice, Nebraska. Parcel IDs number 0101220000, 0101230000, and parcel 0101240000 for the use of the city of a public fire station.
Mayor, I move that resolution number 6401 be passed and adopted.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Cook, that resolution number 6401 be passed and adopted.
If the city is going to use a parcel of property for a public purpose, the statutes do give us the authority to use eminent domain or condemnation, two interchangeable terms, to get the property if we're unable to come to terms. At this point, we do have one parcel that we are looking to do that on. We will continue through the negotiation process and hopefully be able to reach an agreement, but this gives us the authority to file the lawsuit if necessary.
Questions from the council? Anyone from the audience? Counselor? Just your name and address, Jeff, if you would, please.
That's all you need?
Well,
Jeff Hubka, 508 Court Street. I represent Wren Marshall Incorporated and Rod and Marilyn Marshall. They're the owners of the property in question. It's just short of 3 vacant lots and a steel, all steel, not post frame, but an all steel warehouse building that sits on them. And I guess I would ask that this body either table this resolution or in some other way decide not to act at this point. I would ask that for 2 different reasons. Number one, timing wise, I was unaware until Friday that this had showed up on the agenda. We've been making offers back and forth between myself and the city, and the last letter rejecting our last offer was received by my office last Monday, April 8th. And then 3 days later, I find out that it's on the agenda for possible moving forward for condemnation. I just think that's maybe poor public policy in the middle of negotiations to take a drastic step like that. I would indicate also that we have, even in light of that, delivered to the city another offer, lower offer. It is lower than the contracted price for the other going business. There's one other going business on this block, and that would be Jan's Cleaners. Our last bid was less than what this body has just agreed to pay to them. The property, the Marshalls do operate a going business in the name of Wren Marshall Incorporated and Wholesale Midwest. The warehouse is, as I understand it, completely full from floor to ceiling with items that are being sold at wholesale. Mr. Marshall, as you know, was involved in the trucking business, and he still sells wholesale filters and items, and also items unrelated to trucking. But it's utilized by him on a regular basis, and he still operates a going business. That's the second reason I asked for a little bit of delay here. Valuing a vacant piece of property is somewhat easier than valuing a going business. The task of stopping what he's doing and either deciding to shut down entirely, which really is not an option, or at least it has not been brought forward to me, or moving the business somewhere else to a suitable location, including the cost and of moving the business itself or preparing a new location to accept the business, is a problem. And it's a problem for the marshals. It also impacts the price that is going to be paid or accepted. And the bigger problem is, if this matter were to proceed into court, that can become an issue in court as far as what the damages might be for whatever bad thing somebody did to somebody and interrupted their business. These are all issues that don't happen if the property's not being utilized. But unfortunately, both the Jan's Cleaners property and my client's property are in use in a business. Also, obviously, through court, any comparable sale would be a measure of damages or a measure of the value of the property. And obviously, one door down, we now have a comparable sale of $200,000 for a going business sitting on one lot. We have for sale a going business sitting on almost 3 lots, and we are asking a price somewhat less than that. So I guess I felt that we were still in earnest negotiations with the city, and I find out that we're not, that the city rather would go to court. And I guess I would just ask, maybe as a citizen, that we not spend the time and money to go to court, not force my clients to spend the time and money to go to court over this. And I think we also would agree that somehow having condemnation looming over the buyer maybe has a chilling effect on the negotiations, or at least it may give an unfair advantage to one side. And with that, I would entertain any questions, but I would ask perhaps that this body not move forward on this resolution at this time.
Point of clarification, even if we pass this resolution this evening, the negotiations can still continue, and we can pull it off the board at that time if we reach some type of a negotiation. Is that correct?
That's correct. One, nothing says the city would have to file the lawsuit tomorrow. And two, I believe even once the lawsuit is filed, negotiations may continue during that process as well.
My concern is a little bit, Mr. Hupke, is whether or not we can move this forward. And even though there was notice, I think there has been negotiations back and forth. I think it's paramount that if we're going to do this project, we need to do it and expedite it as soon as possible, just because of all the hoops that we have to jump through. I'm not saying that, I'm not speaking for the council, they're the ones that are going to decide this, but I'm just hoping that if we do delay this, that we can come to a resolution pretty soon.
Well, a speedy resolution would be best for all parties. I guess I would perhaps counter that with the fact that the threat of condemnation did not come up in the negotiations with the other 5-ish landowners, and they were given an opportunity to deal, and a price was struck, and it's gone forward that way. And I guess that's what communities, and especially small communities, do with each other. Perhaps if really time was of the essence, January 2nd, when Mr. Templemeyer came to work, perhaps he should have put that on the agenda, and we could have condemned everything, or at least threatened the condemnation, just in an effort to move it forward. And I guess what I would say, and I'm not trying to be cute, but because that's hard for me to do. From a purely business standpoint, you're right, Mayor, that it would be in the city's best interest to move this forward. I cannot argue with that, but I would indicate as a public policy matter, saying that, yeah, you're right, we'll still negotiate with you, but just a second, I'm putting a gun to your head, now let's negotiate a little bit more. I mean, I guess I would like to think we don't play that way. But.
And that's a little more dramatic than I'd like you to phrase it, however. But I really think that we have to consider the big picture here. I'd like to see us move forward, but if the council wants to take a 2-week hiatus and we consider it at a subsequent city council meeting, that's going to be their decision. Gentlemen, Ted.
My concern with delaying this at all, even for a 2-week period, is that it's just this. If you don't reach an agreement with the buyer and seller here, and it gets to be 2 weeks, we can discuss it again at a work session, it doesn't get settled, we have to put it on the agenda, my concern is that this is going to be drawn out. I think that you can work from a position, I think the city can work from a position of not having to use this if we can get it settled, but be directed from the council that this is our timeline. Because we made a promise to the community when we put this on the ballot. It was passed. We've made a promise to the other landowners that we're purchasing property from. I certainly understand Jeff's position, but I would suggest that we move forward with it tonight. So that's where I'm at with it.
Tobias, how are we on the negotiations? Are they going fairly good? Do you think you can work something out, or
Jeff's a great guy.
do you think it's a stalemate that we gotta?
No, I think Jeff and I have had some good conversations. He's trying to get the most for his client. I'm trying to keep the least amount for my client. I mean, that's just the nature of the game we're playing, and
Do you think it's possible to work it out, though? I mean,
depends how much of a check you guys are willing to write.
So Jeff, have you been of council the whole time during this?
I have been.
Okay.
Yep,
You didn't come in at the end or anything like that, okay?
No, I was hired initially, and we've had numerous conversations and one face-to-face meeting with both Tobias and Abby. No, I have been involved the whole time, and actually we were probably at the bargaining table before some of the other landowners. From a timing standpoint, I would indicate, to echo the remarks of one of the earlier councilmen, basically you already have optioned the entire rest of the block, and you've also moved that Terracon can come in and start some initial testing. I would submit that really by tabling this, there's going to be no loss of time at all. Terracon's still going to be moving in doing their thing, and the fact that one piece of the pie is missing, is not going to slow this up realistically. I would indicate also completely out of good faith, my clients have provided to Mr. Templemeyer some documents indicating some of the environmental situation that's going on, all very positive, I might add, and that was not necessary either, but we did that out of good faith. Items that cost my client quite a bit of money to obtain, and we shared those free of charge with the city. So,
Any other questions?
Can I ask Jeff, without stepping over boundary of your client, we've got 6 or 7 other property owners that have all come and negotiated this in a timely fashion and all have reached an agreement. What's the problem? What's the problem with one holdout? Is this just a matter of trying to get everything he can, like trying to get the most for your client, or trying to get, what's the rub? If you can't answer that, that's fine.
well, let me say there has been quite a bit of negotiation. I believe that the parties perhaps started off quite a ways farther apart than perhaps they should have, and I'll put blame on both sides of the table there. I guess I also would indicate that some of the negotiations have taken maybe a week to 2 weeks to get back to the other party. And, these, I think, in earnest started in February, and if you take 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there, you're through March pretty quick. So I guess other than that, I can't answer. There probably is more to it, but perhaps none that I'm at liberty to go to today.
Well, I guess that kind of answers part of my question. It was my concern earlier. 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there, and all of a sudden this is in October or November. I would urge the vote of this body to stay the course with the condemnation process if we have to, and vote on that tonight, and urge Tobias and Mr. Hubka to settle down and hunker down and get a number back to us. So.
Mr. Kerr?
Well, Jeff, you kind of made the city look like we're the big bad people here, you know. We're holding this this condemnation over them, but you know, your client also, we've got all of the other people sold and that, and you know, he's got this wrench here kind of holding us. You know, they got the big pockets. Now I've got the piece of property. He's kind of using that position against us also, trying to get more money out of us. So, you know, he's in kind of the same position we are. You know, we're the big bad people because we're starting combination. He's the big bad people trying to get in our back pocket also. So we're kind of both, you know, a little bit bad guys here. So let's not make each other out to be bad guys. But I say go ahead and do it tonight, and let's just let Toby and Jeff work it out, because we both kind of got alternator deals here. I mean, we're both maybe a little bit of bad guys here, so.
Any other questions of the council? Of the public? And your vote, please. Excuse me, just a minute. Alan Grell?
I would just make one comment. I can't understand why we can't come together and talk about it. Your timeline, you're not gonna get started until November. Shame on you if you can't figure this out between then and now. You gotta remember, I'm older than most of you in the room. And family business has been here all of my life. I'm not real proud of seeing our city condemn a family business that's been here over 80 years without trying one more time to talk it through and find. It doesn't sound to me like somebody knows what they've talked about yet.
And I think that's not completely accurate, Alan.
Well, I'll bet it's more closer than what you think it is, Mayor.
So noted.
One other quick question. You're gonna pick up an extreme amount of property here. How much in our fire station plan goes for demolishing those structures?
It's a great question.
We don't have a budget yet for demolition. I mean, once we get in and know those structures are, then we'll start looking for contractors for the demolition portion.
And there wasn't somebody who could give you an estimate for that, huh? Because that's gonna be a pretty good chunk of money.
Probably. I mean, those are something we'll work through and find a contractor.
I just was wondering, I've never seen anything in the newspaper that acknowledged that.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Resolution number 6401 has been passed and approved. Next is item 5, an ordinance amending section 2-298 of the Beatrice City Code regarding the duties of the chief building inspector.
Mayor, I move that said ordinance be given number 19-014, the title thereof be approved and rules be suspended, and said ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Billsbach, that the ordinance be given number 19-014, title thereof approved, the rules suspended, and the ordinance be read by number only 3 times tonight. A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable. Your vote, please. That is approved 8-0. Ordinance number 19-014 by number the first time, ordinance number 19-014 by number the second time, and ordinance number 19-014 by number the third and the final time.
Mayor, I move that ordinance number 19-014 be passed and approved.
Second.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by McLean, that ordinance number 19-014 be passed and approved. Your vote, please. Further discussion, sorry.
Earlier tonight, you passed a resolution to rename the Building Inspection Department as the Community Development Department. Well, over the years, the Building Inspection Department name has been deeply tied into your city code in a number of places and locations, along with the name of Chief Building Inspector. And so this amendment here just basically says that anywhere you see those names in the city code, they now should refer to the Community Development Committee, or excuse me, Community Development Department. And as we amend codes over time, you'll see us start to work that name back into it. Otherwise, if we wanted to do it all one time, it would be several hundred pages thick of an amendment here at one time tonight just to change the name. So that's what the amendment you have, or the ordinance before you tonight is.
you have a question, Rich?
What's he gonna be known as now?
Rob. Right.
Community Development Director.
Community Development Director.
Got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Right.
Any other? All right. Any other comments or questions from the council, from the public? Your vote, please. And that is approved 8-0. Ordinance number 19-014 has been passed and adopted. Next item on the agenda is the public forum. Purpose of the public forum is for the presentation of an item by the general public to the city council for consideration at a later date. No discussion or action will be taken by the council at this time. Does the council have anything for the public forum? Anyone from the audience? All right, next is discussion and reports, and it's the Engage Quarterly Report. And Walker Zulkowski, our Engage Director, is with us. Walker? Sometimes it just comes out wrong.
That was perfect. Rob's getting the limelight tonight. I feel like he's gunning for my job. Community Development Director is getting pretty dang close.
It is, isn't it?
So here to report on quarter 3 of our contract, kind of quarter 1 in terms of calendar year, but so January to March, which is typically in business and life is kind of a quieter time with holidays and weather and all this stuff. But you can see from the report, I'm just flipping to the back page. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in. But just summarizing in my Q3 key points, it was busy for us. Our annual meeting is always kind of a hectic thing to get ready for. Getting our annual report, which is tying everything back to what happened the final year. And we put, I think, a lot of work into our annual report this year, thinking, if somebody picks up this document in 10 years and says, what was a snapshot of economic development in Gage County, 10, 15 years ago, this is a really good depiction of that. And it was a really good year. I wish we could have announced everything that happened in 2018. There was some news that hadn't come out yet. So, and I guess they'll just make our 2019 report look better. But I guess just talking first, we'll kind of go through, the good things in like the report and the annual meeting. Our meeting, we held it at Classics again this year. Our investors had a chance to go over the board of directors. We had 3 positions up for election this year, 2 at the city and 1 at the county. Next year it'll switch. So eventually winning, I guess, those seats. Tracy Garnett Froscheiser got the city seat. Aaron Dorn was elected to the county seat, and then Andrea Schaefer was reelected to the other city seat, and then she was also reelected to be our board chair again for next year. And then following after the investor meeting, we had our annual banquet, and we had our site consultant from Newmark, Frank and Knight, out of Texas, be our speaker. And it was really a nice chance to have Erica Estrada was a speaker that came up. We had her here for a couple days, and not only was she be able to speak at the meeting, she spoke at our investor event, and then also we were able to tour her around the community and give her that tour that we usually give site consultants or prospective companies, and let her look over our marketing materials and our strategies. And she had a chance to really go through what our approach was, and she truly was really impressed with all the things that are going on here, all the international presence that we had, and then had some pretty good ideas of just things for us to think about as we talk to site selectors, as we talk to companies. So it was really, I think, a win-win, really good bang for our buck to get her up here. I guess just summarizing a couple more things because I'll get you back on track. Travel, we're really focusing on, if we're going somewhere for travel, it's the things that we're focusing on as an organization. So workforce, entrepreneurship, and recruiting companies are the big things that we're on the road for. Right now in this time of year, legislature's in session, so I'm trying to be up at the legislature as much as possible. We have some pretty big incentives bills that are trying to get through that are really important to what we're doing as salesmen for our communities and our counties. And so I was actually selected from our peers in economic development around the state to be one of the testifiers on our big incentive bill. It's still kind of hanging out there. We're hoping that we get it out of committee here pretty soon, but it's a pretty important thing because our main tax incentive bill sunsets potentially at the end of this year or potentially at the end of next year, depending on how legislation works out. So,
And you're referring to which bill?
720, LB 720, it's the Imagine Nebraska Act. But there's also a couple sunset bills to get rid of the Nebraska Advantage Act, which is our current tax incentive bill. So Travel, like I said, we're focusing on entrepreneurship, workforce, and then recruiting companies. And as we recruit, we're looking at the international stage rather than the domestic stage because we want to be the only community or the only state that's being representative that's working with a company. So just last month, I was in Italy with a contingent from the United States. There were 21 states that went, 3 of us from Nebraska. We hit 3 cities in Italy in 3 days, which was quite the task. That was some really short sleeping nights, but really impactful meetings. Select USA is the economic development arm from the U.S. government, and they have an office, through the embassy in Italy, and they set up companies that want to invest in the United States. And so it's nice to just kind of weed through those companies and find the ones that are looking, that have checkbooks ready to go, and they're looking to invest in the U.S. And so it was just one-on-one meetings for 3 days, meeting with those companies, seeing if it was a good fit in our county or our community or somewhere in the state of Nebraska. And then I guess kind of highlighting of what happened in the last quarter was the announcement of Site Selection Magazine. So Site Selection Magazine analyzes all industrial projects in the United States every year. Nebraska has been the #1 for site selection projects per capita in the entire country 2 years in a row. And this year they were actually selected for a 3rd consecutive Governor's Cup. So Nebraska had the most projects per capita for the 3rd year in a row. And then for us, little old Beatrice ended up coming in number 14 in the entire country for micropolitans. We made the list in 2017. I think we were like tied for 64th, but we came in 14th in the entire country for projects, which is crazy. People might think that nothing's going on here, but to make this list, you have to have at least 20,000 square foot of growth in a facility, or invest $1 million, or hire 30 people. Those are huge numbers, and so to have the 14th most in an entire country, in our population class is the micropolitan is from 10,000 to 50,000 people, and we're falling the lower end of that spectrum. So I think it just shows that there's a lot of good stuff going on here. We're working every day to make sure it happens, but as our speaker at the annual banquet said, that you just bite that off that elephant one bite at a time, and finally you can kind of step back and see how much you got done. So I guess that was really kind of the culmination of a year's worth of work, but really sets the stage for where we're going and why we're doing things and how we want to continue to grow. And I guess, so upcoming, I think we're going to have a pretty good big quarter this quarter. Next week, if you're not signed up, and if you haven't encouraged other people to sign up, Beatrice is the host of the Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference. It's the 3rd annual conference. It was in Cook the first year. Last year it was in Hastings, and this year Beatrice was fortunate to host it. We put in, I think, a really compelling bid, and we won it. And now we have a chance to show off our community and bring people from all over the state and all over the country to be speakers and attendees. And then also in May, there's tied on with the Berkshire Days, there's the Business and Investment Conference in Omaha. That's a Chinese delegation that we are sponsoring to have, or helping sponsor this dinner to be able to get in front of some potential investors from China. And then we have another international trip coming up. As you remember, last year I did a recruitment visit, a recruitment trade mission to Toronto. We actually didn't get all of our visits booked that we wanted to in Toronto, so we had some credits left over. So for just a little bit more, we actually got to do another trip. So it's a pretty good price tag here to go. A partner from Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development and I will be in in Montreal here in a few weeks. And those appointments are coming together for us right now. And then I see I have a date missed up on this, but May 29th and 30th, we're going to do a business retention and expansion interview blitz. BRE is kind of the common term in economic development, but we always want to be in front of our local industries, making sure that if there's good things or bad things happening, we know about it, and ask them lots of questions about how do they rate fire safety or streets or internet and all sorts of stuff. But these BREs are really important for us to just have it take an hour and just answer all these questions about their mindset about what it's like to do business here. So we have partners coming from the state of Nebraska, Department of Economic Development, from Nebraska Public Power District, from Norris Public Power, the Chamber, Main Street, and us, and Engage will all be conducting 2 solid days of BREs. So we hope to get 40 to 50 BREs knocked out in about 2 days. So look for us running all over the county. And then also just kind of put it on your radar. It's will actually probably end up being the following quarter, but we'll be looking at doing a refresh to the housing study that we did in 2016. Since we've built quite a few houses and just different units based on the old housing study, we think the market's changed a little bit. So we're looking at just doing an update on that to see what we need to build next, because housing seems to be still at the top of the list of how we recruit industry or recruit workforce. So, questions on Q3?
Questions? Walker?
Not even Ted?
I missed the first part of it, sorry, I had to make a phone call.
He's injured
That
right now.
that was the best part.
Yeah.
Anyone from the audience? Walker, thank you very
All right,
much.
thanks again for your support, guys.
Appreciate it. Next, we'll move on to the city administrator's monthly report. Tobias?
Just a couple highlights in there, as I know you guys have read all, 58, 59 pages, whatever's in there. First off is the city was awarded the CCCFF grant. Those funds will go to make some improvements at the Carnegie Building. We are still working with the State Historical Preservation Office to get final approval, but hopefully you'll see that in your next budget, and we'll be able to move forward with that project. With that grant was for $60,000. It's a 1-for-1 match, so the city will have to put in $60,000 as well. Next is West.
Tobias, that's gonna cover everything, right?
Oh no, oh no,
You don't think so?
no.
Okay.
Now, when you say everything, you mean like all the improvements that need to be done to that
No,
building,
no,
or that
just-
project?
Yeah,
We're still working on it. Depends on what SHPO requires us to do.
okay.
That's what it's going to come down to. They want us to take all of the many years ago, instead of putting mortar back in the joints, they put caulk back in them. They want us to take that back out and put mortar back in. And that's where the great debate is how much of that do we have to do? How much do we not have to do?
Yeah, that can get spendy quick.
Yes. So we are working through that process.
Okay.
Still a major hurdle to get the grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no. I just thought it was, I know it's not gonna cover the entire laundry list. I thought it was just that the one project that we did, so, okay,
It's possible. That's what we're
okay.
working through. After the floods, Mark's guys have done a great job getting West Scott Street ball fields back up and playing. In fact, I think tonight was the first night they were playing down there. Agri-Lime was delivered yesterday. They got spread out today. They're not perfect, but they're playable, and they'll continue to work on them throughout the year. The next thing we have to address is obviously Bluff Street. If anybody's not been down on Bluff Street, which is the block just to the west of the ball fields, that street blew up on you this flooding cycle. For whatever reason, that one went bad. So we have a plan, but we have to wait for some little warmer temperature, and then Jason's gonna go in there and see what he can do with his guys, and then we'll work on coming back in. We have the mill and overlay guys in town to kind of help put that road back together, but we got some short-term fix for now. Splash pad, if you've not been up to Astro Park, work has started again on the splash pad. The tank's been buried. That will recycle the water. So after it goes through the splash pad, it'll go down to the tank, and then we'll use it to sprinkle the grass in the park. So you recycle the water there. That's been installed. I believe concrete gets poured tomorrow for the pad itself, and so progress is being made there. If you remember, this project was hopefully going to be done last fall, but the early onset of winter caught us, and we were not able to get it completed, so the contractor's back on site getting that one done. And in case you didn't notice, it's Clean City Week here in town, and so our guys are out running around. Not swap meet, Clean City Week. So, but the guys were out busy. They're running 3 10-hour days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, picking everything back up. Trying that schedule. We've done that the last couple of years. It seems to have worked pretty well. But I think they had over 500 loads they picked up today from addresses. So
Saw some mattresses.
there are some mattresses out there, and again, mattresses need to be taken down to First and Ella Street. There's a dumpster down there, or a roll-off. You can put them down there. Once again, if items were left, it's either because they were not registered, or because if they're small enough that one person can pick them up, sanitary garbage will take them. And so some of those items were left. We've worked with sanitary garbage. They will pick up that area tomorrow, And so hopefully you'll see those small items that were left be picked up tomorrow by sanitary garbage and taken care of.
Good program.
Any other questions? All right. Basically, our next regular city council meeting is going to be on May 6th, 2019 in these chambers, and there will be a work session on April 22nd, right here in these chambers also. Next, we'll go into executive session. Mr. Claybaugh?
I move that the Beatrice City Council go into a closed session at 8:10 PM for the protection of public interest to discuss real estate.
Moved by Claybaugh, seconded by Billsbach, that the Beatrice City Council goes into executive session at 8:10 for the protection of public interest to discuss real estate. All in favors? Your vote, please, and that is approved 8-0. Thank you, everyone, for coming.